Late October 2023 with the Lovelocks in Sunninghill. Rough cut photo trials. And they will be rough cut. At least I'll start with a standard introduction for the very few that may not have seen this stuff. Yeah, that's Bentley, one of the guard cats. He's from opposite. This is where we live, at 22 Armitage Court in Sunninghill. There's the warning about fierce guard cats. That's one of them down there. And that's where GPS was tested at this spot from the late 1980s, just here. There's the bit of garden sculpture that June got Robin for his birthday present a couple of years ago. And this cat is Bentley. He lives opposite, but he comes over to guard the premises. Now he's running after something at the moment. He's seen another cat. That's interesting. That's chasing Bentley off. That's unusual. Ooh, goodness me. Don't normally get this. Come on then, let's see. I haven't seen anything chase Bentley off before. So this might be a new top cat in the area. Yeah. Matter of grabbing the opportunity. Haven't seen that before. Right, so we were about here, I think. So down the front drive, the women are out playing tennis at the moment. And yeah, that's a bicycle I might get a chance to try out sometime. That's the project from last year, or one of the projects. Place for the guard cats to hang out. And Toadie often hangs out in there, and that's a light. You'll see that in lots of photo trails, and there's another one. Right. This is Snoopy's robot boat, and the recent photo trails show that some progress has been made on the boat. Slowly. He survived 6 weeks at sea last year. It looks like that's been screwed down, but not to worry. That's been tidied up a bit, which is the bits and pieces from the boat after replacement of stuff. There's information there for anybody interested. And yes, that was the camper that was used to take the boat down for last year's attempt. There's the battle damage. Battle damage. June said Robin did it. Robin said the wall did it, but the wall is okay. Now the most important bit of the intro of these videos are the health and safety warnings. So you come to our front door, and yes, you'll see warning signs, many that have been there for years, about things like cameras, but the most important sign is that one, and you have to read the small print about water squirters. Right, I've done the health and safety, so now into the house. Anybody who's seen this stuff before could just skip through to the photo trails. Quickly into the games room. I'm hoping sometime we better clear this stuff up and put it in the right places. And right now, amongst all the junk, including robot boat stuff, is our cat Toadie. And of course he's sleeping on duty. He should be out there helping Bentley. And it looks as though there's an interloper been coming in. Right, I've got to be careful not to trip over all this junk. I say junk, but a lot of it is very important tools and materials to be put in the right place. And as I've said many times before, Robin is often told where to stick things. Right, into the lounge, and that's Robin's naughty corner, where you see not so much working on bits, but where I hang out to look at the closed circuit TV. Usually while June's watching TV. And on there at the moment is a tracker she's wearing. Shows that she's at tennis. Means I get a bit of warning when they're coming back, and I get a chance to look as if I'm busy. So come out onto our porch here, again full of projects. You'll see them in various photo trails. Yeah, barbecue. It's a little while since we had one of those. Mirrors to help reflect the light and heat from the chimney. Steps that I put in again a while back now. Even a TV and computer with solar panels and all the rest of it. Loads of stuff queued up because there's not been a chance to do it. There's just not enough hours in the day. Peanuts left out regularly for wildlife, and you'll see plenty of that in the photo trails. So I think that's as much as I'll do now. We'll go straight into the photo trail, but I will say this. Near the end there are basically some material which is still topical. One of them is global warming, and the prophetic words of James Lovelock. In short, it's going to happen, and you haven't seen anything yet. The other, some will find amusing, which is the saga about my driving licence, which is still outstanding. I'm still waiting to get my driving licence from the DVLA, but we'll see what happens. Right, into those long photo trails for several days. Sunday the 22nd of October 2023, 12 minutes of photo trail including this minute summary of content. So yeah, a few pictures showing the garden, loads of work needed of course, but even more work needed inside the house. Yes, Toadie having breakfast. We take a walk down to the Bansals and spend some time with them, and enjoyed time with Romeo, their doggy, even though he did do quite a bit of damage to my trousers, not just dirt. But that was the interesting thing. Got memories, got a long time ago, 1995 or that, which was negotiating a contract with the BBC on the As on TV page. But that's a little story how our cat came into it. Anyhow, I ended the day looking at the closed circuit TV over the last 24 hours. Took a trip down to the Comrades Club and thoroughly enjoyed not just my glass of wine, but the guys playing snooker. And it also reminded me how many years since I used to play snooker regularly, certainly by 1970 if not earlier. Yeah, trackers worked. So, into the photo trail itself. Lovely blue sunny day, blue sky and sunny day. Yeah, a few pictures, usual places and landmarks, front garden and projects that I made good progress on last year with the help of Paul. And into the house. Yes, the robot boat's coming along. We're at the stage of needing to put the necessary stuff inside the box at the back. So yeah, processing of the mid-October photo trails. So collection of what was a couple of weeks of days of video like this. And yeah, just looking around the back garden. Yeah, a lot of it is overgrown, and that's the easy work. The more important work is putting stuff in the right places, but this gives you a glimpse of it, maybe to whet the appetite of somebody that's happy to do the right work at the right price. So yeah, carry on down back end of the garden, and we did make a lot of progress over the last, well, not so much this year, but certainly the year before and the year before that. The various bridges, ponds, and yeah, nothing been done in that corner yet. And made places to compost the stuff. Corner of the garden is very much the junk heap, but a load of space made for garden tools. And so that's looking from the back end of the garden. Yeah, places for birdies to nest, even though none have taken up the offer of accommodation. Places to put the garden tools, suitably sheltered from the weather. Into the laboratory, and yeah, lots of stuff there. All's got to be tidied up. We've got the cupboards, but we need to label the drawers properly and put the right things in the right places so anybody could find them, rather than people having to remember, where did I put that? Yeah, lots of stuff from years ago. And now working our way back round the side into the area where my workshop is. But first of all, yes, more places to put garden tools and other tools. Some tools are used. And into the workshop, yes, needs a hell of a lot of tidying up. And stuff is starting to get overgrown. Some nice little cosy spots around the garden. So that is working way round the back from the workshop to June's vegetable patch. Yes, the sundial. These things get knocked around by cats typically, prowling around, and occasionally foxes. So that's looking up the garden. Yes, the chiminea and the mirrors, one of the projects. Grapes, years since we made any wine. And Toadie having something to eat. And June and Samantha enjoying the sun in the garden. June gets a phone call. I get a phone call as well. Yes, shows the importance of ordinary phones rather than smartphones. And yeah, making their way down into the village. Yeah, opposite the Comrades Club, and spending some time with the Bansalls. Hello, Raj. And yeah, treated to coffee. And of course Romeo is the important member of the family, and he has a bit of a weakness as he insists on licking people. And of course he didn't only get my trousers dirty, naughty doggy, but he managed to, I suppose by his enthusiasm, cause the rip in the trousers. Anyhow, it looks like they're enjoying some video. I saw the good work that was being done on the gazebo down the end. Oh, June's pointing out. Oh, what is it? Yes, look at that. Yeah, seams pulled apart. Yes, Jazz. That is a very old product, and I ordered some more because it brought back memories from 1995 of negotiating a contract with the BBC. Anyhow, we're on our way back, and yeah, saw that. Interesting scarecrow, if you call it that. Number 35, Tabby the cat. Yeah, so that's a little exercise going on by the school kids. So back into the house. Yes, the robot boat. And yeah, processing of that video. That was 2 weeks worth of photo trails like this. And checking on the tracker. Yes, it shows the visit to the Bansalls well. And anybody interested where Robin is, yes, you just tap on the contact page and then and that's where we are now. Yes, now I've changed my trousers and cleaned my shoes, following Jude's instructions, so relatively speaking I'm a little smarter. Yes, the video's still processing. Use the calculator to make a better guesstimate of when it'll finish processing. It's usually several hours. And ordered on eBay 3 of those, and it reminded negotiating the contract here, and Aircat at that time Gingy, or Fartalot he was known, I allegedly popped that fart box under him, and while I was making coffee for the 2 ladies, it was making naughty noises, and there was a lot of laughter when we came back before we closed the deal. So yeah, looks like time to put the peanuts out. So put them out on the top bridge, which is just out the window. Moon was up, but that camera doesn't take very good telephoto pictures. It's not bad, but not as good as the Sony one. And yeah, so rather dark pictures, but putting the peanuts out, including out on the road. And what are we doing now? Yeah, there's the boat. It's solar light has come on, even though it doesn't get a lot of sunlight there. Ah yes, that's it, the order, and sure enough, so-called UK seller is in Shenzhen, and I wonder whereabouts. Oh yes, who do I know, or did I know? Well, a few kilometres from them, not walking distance. That's assuming they were working from that office. So, looks like the video processing is practically done. And yeah, that's uploading onto YouTube. And yeah, it looks as though it's up there. So, yeah, what's that? Oh, June's rustled up dinner. So while they eat it in the kitchen, I take mine through into the lounge and Robin's naughty corner and check a few things, emails and stuff like that. June comes in, watches that. Yeah, it's an interesting program. I was in the situation of doing CCTV checks, but also paying attention to that lovely drama. Lenny Henry was in it as, and then yeah, visits by the foxes to eat the peanuts. Hello, Mr. Fox. Both in the porch, and also you'll see in a moment, I think. Oh, that was when it got light. Yes, 7:23 in the morning when the cameras switched, and on the top bridge, that is just outside the patio window, and that was back to 18:15, 6:15 in the evening when the cameras switched. And yeah, totally relaxing. June's still watching the television. I thought, nah, better go out and stretch my legs, get a bit of exercise. Yeah, that solar lamp that gets more sun stays on longer. And take a walk down into the village and into the Comrades Club. And yeah, while I was there, I checked the tracker, and yes, anybody interested was said, oh yes, that's in the bar. So some closed circuit TV monitors. Yes, there was the Grand Prix on, and I really enjoyed that. Joining them, those friends some will recognise, playing snooker. It reminded me how many years since I regularly played snooker, and that was certainly by 1970. Right, so what have we got here? That looks as though that, yes, the YouTube video has processed the video and the subtitles are available. So that's the end of the photo trail. On the 23rd of October 2023, yeah, these photos were taken not with the Samsung camera but with my old Sony camera, which I'd bodged several days earlier. That was the problem, mechanical bottom to it. Anyhow, it seemed to work well enough. So June started by doing the weekly big shop at Tesco. I did a bit of useful work making progress on the robot boat by finding an old GPS that had been tested back in 2017, getting it working as a complete autopilot and checking it out. And yes, pictures of the garden with Toadie, put out the peanuts, this is the back end, and made some notes about the closed circuit TV, and yeah, went down to the Comrades Club, forced myself to have a glass of wine, and of course this is the summary, about a minute or so of the full 8 minutes or so photo trail. So go back, and yeah, they're watching the drama with Lenny Henry. Quite good. I was watching that as well as listening to the news. So now into the main photo trail. Yes, so these photos are from several days earlier, taken with the other camera, and shows me bodging the thing, but the bodge might well work well enough. And yeah, Toadie having breakfast, I suppose that is, or brunch. So that's the camera which I have been using for quite a few weeks, and that's the bag for the Sony camera. So there's the tracker showing that June's at Tesco. Anybody want to see where we are or where the trackers are? It's public. And that's the Satcom's tracker that's going into the boat, but until then it's being checked out in the car. Here's Bentley from opposite, come over probably to have some food. Samantha working from home in a very untidy games room. Oh yes, Bentley quite likes that box, and Toadie has got to like it as well. That's in the kitchen. So yes, June's arrived back with the shopping, so I help her carry it into the kitchen before she puts it all away. And yeah, that was the key thing. Found that old GPS was tested and to be good back in October 2017, and sure enough I wired it up and got it working. I consulted the blog back at then, and yeah, that had the date, and I looked at what had been written at that time, and the photograph showed where things fitted in the box if there was any doubt. I made a mistake soldering the data wire. I used the white wire. Well, that's the data going into the GPS if you really set it up, so I had to solder the green wire. Then it all worked fine. Then I did a T-tray test because the autopilot recognised where we were near the front door, guided me up to the lamppost, and when I got to the lamppost, guided me back. That was with the text-to-speech, so that was all working well. So that is ready to go in. Now a fix I did is use some sellotape to basically bind mechanically the lead of the GPS so it's ready to go in. Yes, interrupted by pussycats, and that's our Toadie watching Bentley having some more food. And what are we doing now? Oh yes, Toadie's decided to go out in the garden. Samantha's pumping up her tyres, ready for another trip to the tennis courts, and Toadie's prowling the front and then the back, attacking a plant, I think. Then I was checking out this Sony camera, which was my favourite one to use for years, and then it packed up because something mechanically went wrong. So you can see her untidy back garden, including June's vegetable patch. My old telescope, no, nothing had been done on that for years. And yeah, decided to put the peanuts before it got dark. So that's on the bottom bridge, that's looking up from the bottom bridge, and then the porch, and then the road. So yeah, oh yes, I noticed water had got into the bag of peanuts. It was in a terrible state, almost smelly. Those are going to be thrown, but before that I've got to order some more. So when that bag comes, we can throw the bad ones. So I ordered them on June's Amazon account, and yeah, time for food. June has rustled up some food, so I take that into the naughty corner in the lounge. I can do things like look at oh yes, I ordered the peanuts on June's Amazon account. June comes in, watches the tennis, and play some video game at the same time. I suppose they call that multitasking. I do the closed circuit TV checks, making a note of what time different things arrive on the TV. Yeah, there's the fox in the front porch, which is well lit, so you tend to get better pictures of him or her. And yeah, so that could be live now, I suppose. Yeah, I don't know. That's just checking what time the cameras switch from night mode, black and white, to colour. And yeah, did some power consumption checks, the amount of current drawn by the autopilot system, compare it with my earlier notes, and it does look good. That has to be double checked, make sure we've got plenty of margin on the solar power supply. I think it's in the ballpark of about 1 watt at 5 volts or less. Right, down to the Comrades Club to give myself some exercise and force myself to have a glass of wine. I made a phone call, yes, John Sylvester. That was about pub lunch this coming week. And yeah, anybody could see where I am, my tracker, assuming I'm wearing it, of course, and checking out the Sony camera. Yeah, it seems to work quite well on the telephoto. So, time to walk back. Yeah, generally better in light. I can see that's not a bad picture of the moon through a telephoto, despite the cloud and light conditions. That was a nice drama. I was sort of watching it with Lenny Henry and also listening to the Radio 4 news. The radio, get the important news within a few minutes. Then June decides to watch that boring thing. Was it Buffy the Vampire? So that's it. Tuesday the 24th of October 2023, 12.5 minutes of photos, including this 1.5 minute summary. Yeah, one of the things we considered was getting some mirrors, which was the original idea. But I also got a phone call from Lightwater Surgery, and yeah, we went in there to look at a document related to the DVLA. And yeah, we went out to looking for some mirrors that might go into those skylight areas, to the obvious cheap shops, and we didn't find what we were looking for, but we thought we'd check those out first before looking further. Yeah, the trackers show where Toady, Pussy, in that case it was while it was still light. And yes, those arrived, those fart boxes as they're called, or fart machines. And yeah, so I had my dinner in the naughty corner of the lounge, looked at the closed circuit TV, visits from foxes, but also a badger. First time I've seen those for some time in our garden. And yes, had a bit of fun. Put the fart box in a sock and went down to the Comrades Club to force myself to have a glass of wine, but had a bit of fun with, obviously not on the record there. Anyhow, back home. So that's the end of the summary. So now we're going to the photo trail. Yeah, so these just happen to be the pictures I took on that day. This is with a Sony camera, as opposed to the camera I've been using, Samsung, for some time. So I bodged it, but it seemed to work reasonably well. One topic that came up, the email from Terry, was alternatives to the old conventional telescope, and that prompted me to take a few pictures. Yes, nothing had been done on that, even though I'd started some years ago to get it into a good state. June putting out the washing, so used the opportunity to take a few photos in the garden. And yes, all overgrown, no work on the garden because none of the right help, even though tremendous progress was made a year or two back in various projects, like the windows around the chimney area, yes, and even an outside television for when we sat outside. Yeah, and back into the house. And what we're looking at here, oh yes, it was Tuesday, so the Office of National Statistics released the graph of total deaths, and of course that applies not only to COVID for any reason of death. Oh yes, fixed up the pub lunch for grumpy old men, and yeah, Samantha working in that very untidy games room, and that is, oh, top of the list it must be for what we need to do. Get everything put in the right place. Some of it will be thrown, but the vast majority just needs to be put away in the right place. And of course we've got the space in the garden now as well. So yes, Pussycat is relaxing, and at least he's woken up. Oh yes, lunch, a couple of arancini in the microwave. And yes, so when we decided to have those skylights put in, the original concept I had was mirrors around the edge, and we did a quick check with a little hand mirror, and in several places you could actually see interesting information like the trees and wildlife in the trees and perhaps bits of the sky. A phone call from Lightwater Surgery, and yeah, this relates to the communication between the surgery and the DVLA about my driving licence. Couldn't explain everything. We managed to find an old answer phone message relating to this, but the key thing is, obviously a high priority was that trip out there, but we thought since we're taking a trip out in the car after the surgery, we'd measure up what size mirrors we're looking for, if we can find them off the shelf, and it's just possible we might do. So off an air trip to Lightwater, and yeah, into the surgery, and then they give us the correspondence to check through. So use the opportunity to just use the camera to record the content as best we could, since what I had been expecting was simply a photocopy of the material being sent, but not to worry, I won't talk about it in more detail here. Main thing is, yes, wrote a message on the envelope and gave it back, and then off to the other places, and the first was Wicks, not so far away. Had a look round there but didn't see anything. Yes, there was a rainbow. Got the opportunity to get a picture of that. Only a bit of a rainbow. There was a passing shower. So then home base, again not that far, and there were some mirrors there, but not of the size I was looking for. And then we thought, yes, we can go into Bracknell, not that far away, and check out several cheap places, all nearby. So we went into each of those, and we did find some mirrors, and they're in the right ballpark of price, but they weren't quite the size we were looking for. And so then the range, no, didn't find anything there, even though I had got mirrors from there in the past of a different type. So then make our way back home through South Ascot, and yeah, back home. And yes, there's the robot boat. No work on it today, but yes, the light's working fine. If it gets more sunlight, it'll work better. Then check the trackers. Anybody could have seen where we were. The spot tracker that's to go in the boat shows not only the where we are now, but you can look at where we've been over the last 24 hours in detail, including where we parked. And so there's the various places. Of course, it only shows where the tracker is. My pensioner tracker that I wear, anybody see where that is, and they can see live the position. So they say, oh, there's Robin, that's what he must be doing, he's at home or wherever. But of course, if you log into the site, which I've got the details of that, I can see everywhere it's been, and it's quite good to check how well it works. And it showed very well the visit into home base and all the places, the range, there we go, and back home. So there's Toadie, he's relaxing in the lounge now, and June's checking out some things there. So yes, time to put out the peanuts. I put them out before it gets dark, so the camera's not working too bad. And yeah, some of the pictures are a bit blurred, of course. Yeah, there's the robot boat. That's when I put the peanuts in the porch, which is quite well lit, out on the road, and been doing that for years. That's the, yeah, put them back. Yeah, somewhere to put them. So, oh, that was the video about interesting new product. But I also got some interesting other emails come through. And it reminded me, I order for 3 fart boxes or fart machines have been delivered. Yes, and that brought back memories from many years ago. So I checked it out with Toady. Yes, it startled him a bit. Checked it out for range. Yes, and it reminded me, oh crikey, closing a deal with the BBC Special Effects many years ago. And yes, NGS Manhunt, that video is still on the As on TV page. Lots of fun with that. That's another story. Yes, I'm sorry it's not vegetarian, but June has rustled up some chicken there. So I take my dinner through to the naughty corner in the lounge so that I can sit down there and eat that while watching more entertaining stuff like the closed circuit TV. And yes, things like Arrival of the Foxes. Sometimes that's actually, as you get later in the evening, it's live. But normally I'm checking over the last 24 hours. So, and I make a few notes in the diary of anything particularly interesting, or at least just say, oh yeah, it's just the foxes again. No hedgehogs at this time of the year now, so they're probably in hibernation. But I did see something, a badger. I hadn't seen one of those for some time. What videos we've got of them, yeah, up on one of the pages. So that's the first time I've seen that for, must be in a year. Oh yes, an air cat toady. He decided to climb into the position just in front of one of the mirrors because it was a high point. What do you expect? So, yeah, June's watching something on the television, whatever that is. And, yeah, boring. But I could have a bit of fun because I was going to go down to the Comrades Club, but why not put the fart box into a sock? And allegedly somebody might have got up to some mischief with it, aided and abetted by somebody else down there. So into the Comrades Club, have a glass of wine. Yes, that sits on a seat quite nicely. And yes, there was football on the telly. And yeah, checked what the tracker said. Anybody interested? Oh, looks like Robin's in the Comrades Club. So yeah, checked out the camera. That seemed to work reasonably well. And that got misused in various places. So then I walked back home. And yes, the robot boat's there. And June's watching television still. And Toady is also relaxing in the lounge. So, and there's the fox live. Just outside. There he is. Yeah. Oh, in fact, that was just a few minutes earlier. That he had been eating, and then I'd started him, and I saw him run off. But anyhow, not to worry. Yeah, then I got a long call from Paul. So that's the end of that photo trail. Wednesday, the 25th of October 2023. Must be 13.5 minutes of photo trail. First a summary, lasted a minute. Yes, had problems with the camera that I'd bodged, and yeah, took a photograph or two of the boat and did a few checks on it. Yes, pussycats like Bentley from opposite, and visited a place where might be able to provide mirrors. June ordered some glass. Had problems with that Sony camera, and yeah, Bracknell glazing showed up on the tracker where we'd been. Back end of the day in the naughty corner looking at the wildlife like badgers and foxes at the same time, having the peanuts. And yes, had a bit of fun with that. And down at the Comrades Club, stretched my legs, and yes, nice little machine that. So yeah, this is the end of the summary. So now into the actual photo trail, and photos may not all be in the right order. hopefully they're close to it. So early on, they're having a breakfast, I suppose, and I'm basically doing the voice commentary on the video from the day before, a bit like I'm doing right now for this one. And yeah, a few photographs around showing all the mess in the games room, Toadie relaxing, out into the garden, and yeah, that's the camera that I'd had trouble with, or having trouble with, and I don't know why. I was messing around. I even got a filed a bit of plastic related to the bodge that was recorded I'd done the day before. Seemed to be a mechanical thing. I googled up because there was a flashing icon being shown. Didn't work out what that is. Anyhow, June did me some lunch. I checked out the telephoto on the camera, and the moon is about 1/4 of an inch at arm's length, and I zoomed in to something equivalent, and it worked pretty well. And yeah, so that's the camera I bid for the Thames Hospice. That I put another bid in, and in fact I lost the bid, but I suppose that would have benefited Thames Hospice. Right, now that is finding the right tool to clear up the old peanuts out of the bag. And yeah, meanwhile June's doing some work in the garden. Yes, there's right, so those old rotten peanuts, now that we've got the new ones that have arrived, need to be dumped. Let's put things back in the right place, like June's scissors that I used to cut the bags of the new peanuts. So those peanuts on the left in the new bag are good. Put the spade back in the right place. And of course a lot of these videos is all about putting things in the right place. Right, now where to put the old peanuts? I could just put them on the compost heap, or I could put them on the ground in front of the compost heap. And of course that might then be food for all sorts of things, including slugs and insects, not just the possibility. Oh yeah, that made me laugh. Argentina for the peanuts. Yeah, hello Andy, if you're listening to this. And yeah, so June says, yes, put the bag in the right place, in the grey bin for general waste. I have to do what she says. 2 pussycats, Toadie prowling around and Bentley prowling around from opposite. He's the senior guard cat, and Toadie decides to sit on the car. Samantha still working from home. That's where I normally keep the supply of peanuts, and just checking out things. Yes, that camera back on the house does cover that spot down the end of the garden, and of course the peanuts are put in other places, including the top bridge just outside the patio window. Some lovely flowers still in bloom at this time of the year, well into October. And yeah, a few garden features, whole thing a bit untidy. Put the container of peanuts back with all the other junk, which sometime might get cleared up. Yeah, that was interesting. The bulrush, one ready to seed and one left over from last year. Now that's the camera, and that camera, if we go to the closed circuit TV, that monitor covers that spot down the end, just past the washing line. And yeah, so that works. So if anything does visit, we won't see a slug on that camera, but we'll see things like foxes and possibly hedgehogs. Right, there's the cats prowling about. I moved the boat to get a bit more light on it. There's Bentley prowling around. Yes, going past the bit of sculpture that June got me a couple of years ago for a birthday present. Hello Bentley. He's just checking out the place really, and Toadie's watching him. And yeah, some the viewer like family are not really interested in anything other than the pictures of the pussycats. Yes, Bentley decided to come over to eat. I put because of the sun position at this time of the year, I've moved the boat there, and I was getting a rather low voltage on the monitor points. That certainly they should be up nearer 5 volts or more. So not sure why that was. Anyhow, we're now off because there's a company at Bracknell that might be to provide mirrors to go in. There we are, get there. And June actually ended up buying something else. That was the company, Bracknell Glazing. And June bought some glass for the greenhouse that was broken. And yeah, so making our way back, it was in Longshot Lane, just across the road from where we both worked, and other friends and family back in, when was that? Crikey, 1970. Yeah, so looking at the track, oh no, that was no sat-nav, because we were going to go over to Farnborough, but the traffic was so bad, June changed her mind, and we came back. So yeah, past Bagshot past Bagshot Park, and back home. And what's next? Oh yes, that light has come on because it got a bit more sunlight, and so as it got dark, the lamp came on. Switch on the light, including the porch light, which shows up things better. There's a blank there, don't know what happened there. And yes, Toady relaxing. It's obviously getting late in the evening. Oh yes, that was the company house information on the guys of the Bracknell Glazing. And yeah, everything's on the net, just a question of where to look. And yeah, so that's the visit there on the spot tracker, and anybody interested could say, oh, where are they now, where have they been? And that's back here. But the other tracker, the pendant tracker, that obviously shows where I walk, assuming I'm wearing it. So I log in on the website, which most people don't have access to, and I can see all the track of where it's been, including Bracknell Glazing, and of course air trip. So that's it. So now we're probably at the stage of switching to cameras, and I've used that as a marker, that picture of Thames Hospice. So earlier in the day I was thinking we'd go to the NGS place that was open locally, but June said no, she had other things to do, things like the washing and other things she wanted to do, obviously included watching tennis while it was on most of the time. So I did a bit of work on the robot boat, which was basically just fitting mechanically the autopilot into its box using, believe it or not, sticky tape. And yeah, now those new peanuts had arrived, but the old ones needed to be thrown. Now I didn't fancy the idea of getting my hands filthy lifting out all that stuff to take. Yeah, so that picture might mean that was where we switched cameras. Yeah, so I switched from the Sony camera, and yeah, don't know what the problems were with it, and I'm now using the Samsung camera again, and the main problem with that were the leads, and I've got plenty of the spare ones of those now. So that was updating the blog 10 page with the picture that had been taken. It'd be done better in slower time, but at least anybody interested could say, oh, okay, the boat's coming along, at least the main hull and rigging and everything. And yeah, so we into the closed circuit TV checks, and yes, there's a fox on the bridge, which is just out there. That was live. It was it was just outside the window, and there's one on the porch just there. And what we had at the same time was a badger and the fox at the same time, and they didn't seem too aggressive. They were wary of each other. That's what I would describe the behaviour as. That was interesting. Yeah, both fox and badger. So yeah, just checking when the foxes and anything else came over the night. Oh, that was one fox, obviously was the dominant one, because the other fox had to wait his turn for the peanuts. And that was just checking what times the closed circuit TV camera switched from night mode to colour mode for daytime. And of course I made a few notes of all these things. June's watching the TV, joined by Toady, just relaxing, doing nothing of course. I found it rather boring, so I decided to have a bit of fun with the fart machine, but mostly to exercise my legs in that walk down to the village. Yes, checked out that solar lamp was working because it's got enough. So down into Sunninghill village, and yeah, the camera worked quite well. I went into one stop, but their cash machine hadn't worked, so luckily I had enough cash. And into the Sunninghill Commoners Club. Yeah, there's the... Yeah, worked quite well that. Got quite a reasonable range as well. So checking out the camera, yeah, that camera, back to the Samsung camera, the telephoto works. I had some weird things happening on my smartphone. Yeah, looking at basic things, bookmarks had disappeared and all the rest of it. Anyhow, sorted that out. Don't know what was going on there. The tracker was showing me down in the corner. I've had that problem before. I solved it by just powering it off and powering it on again. You know, obviously the icon showing the position should be in the middle of the map. Yeah, had a bit of fun with that. Then time to walk back home, and yeah, past the robot boat. Yeah, the light is off again, so there's Toadie taking it easy. Put that there. Oh yes, emails came in, checked those, and in 1 or 2 cases I answered them. Yeah, some interesting stuff there. Reawakening memories from years ago. Yeah, Amber Residents Association. I was a chairman back in 1985, I think, and I committee in 20. Thursday, the 26th of October 2023. First couple of minutes summary of what is 11 minutes of photo trail. Yeah, so often what you'd expect around the house. A bit of work on the boat, which is mostly related to the power, solar power, and what else was there? Oh yes, very important, measuring up and looking at mirrors that might go inside those skylights before visiting Bracknell glazing. Pick up the glass that June had ordered yesterday, and yeah, oh yes, some interesting emails related to a residents association and awakening old memories of events that are up on the website. Yeah, back end of the day, take my food into the lounge and the naughty corner. I also put out the peanuts, looked at the track of where we'd been, including to Bracknell glazing, and June watched television. I looked at the foxes on the closed circuit TV, mostly over the previous night, and yeah, got up to a bit of mischief. Went down to the village, the Comrades Club, had my glass of wine, interacted with one or 2 people, including with that bit of mischief, and popped over the road for a minute or 2 in each of those places. Similar interaction and demonstration. Then back home, yeah, checked out the camera. It's not too bad, and yeah, there's the boat, and yes, cat's relaxing, June's watching television. So time for bed, and that's the end of that summary. So here's the detailed photo trail. Yes, a lot of it was related to the camera and the fact that I've got 2 bodged old cameras, and yes, there's Toadie relaxing as you'd expect. There's the robot boat, and I put it into the sunlight so we could check out the solar power a little better, and started checking voltages, and the power coming out of the panels looked okay, and the power looked okay on the batteries. The question was whether they were soldered together properly, and yeah, had to get the power. A lot of this photo trail is showing you where things are, not you so much as ourselves. You know, got to keep things in the right place. And I've said many times before, that's the main work that's outstanding. So there's some solder and soldering iron, of course, and the solder joints between the batteries and the solar panels, and then put stuff back in the place it was before, if not the right place. So yeah, checking voltages again, not too sure of that, fingers crossed on it. Yeah, not quite sure. It might have been how well I was checking the voltage. I checked the meters because I wasn't sure. And yeah, so what we got here? Oh yeah, the video from the day before. Oh, and a visit from the fishmonger. And June bought some salmon. Turned out he lived down in Bournemouth. Yeah, so measuring up the windows, those skylight windows if you call them that. Toadie messing around on the stairs, and yeah, joining us in the lounge as well. Yeah, annoying me with my diary. And yeah, so that's the route we're planning, down to B&Q and perhaps Dunelm at Farnborough, and then up to Bracknell Glazing to pick up the glass that June ordered the day before, and see if we can get a quote for the mirrors. And yeah, so June's driving, because I still haven't got my driving licence. Interesting graffiti en route. So this is first of all B&Q down at Farnborough. Yeah, we'll look at the mirrors there, but there were none that were of a convenient size. I did pick up some glass drills for drilling through glass. Thought those might be useful. It's not something I had. Then on our next trip was into Bracknell Glazing, and I made out the best I could in the time we had available. Yeah, it was getting close to closing. The requirement for a quote, and hopefully we'll be able to give them a job. And yeah, making our way back past a few landmarks, including, oh yes, popped into Ascot Hardware. Yeah, back into the village and the cash point there in order to get me a bit of cash in my pocket. Yeah, past a few landmarks in the village like the Rajvuj and the Freewell Barbers, and June carefully unloads the glass and takes it and puts it carefully in the greenhouse. So that's to replace those broken panes there. And yeah, just checking the boat and switch on the porch lights so that it's better lit for anything that happens overnight. And yeah, there's, oh yes, interesting email exchange here, mostly Richard, in terms of the last annual general meeting. And yeah, so what's going on? Oh yeah, meanwhile, dinner's been rustled up, and then Toadie decides to sit in his little box in the kitchen. Yes, and I take my dinner through into the naughty corner of the lounge, Robin's naughty corner, to look at the closed circuit TV, but I also quickly pop out the peanuts as well. And yeah, there's a few snaps there, partly checking out the camera in low light conditions. Yeah, looking up the garden. And so the front porch, yes, the light has come on because it's got dark. Peanuts there, and out on the road as well. And the moon's coming up. So not quite the same as my telescope, but probably a smartphone would do as well. Just the smartphone is less convenient to use for myself, especially if you're doing something else at the same time, like a phone call. Right, so that's looking at the tracker and our previous trip. And then the other tracker is my pensioner tracker that anybody who's interested could see. And yeah, that shows, by logging in, I can see the whole journey for the last 24 hours, for example, and go down into detail in any part of it. And that shows basically where I was walking around or being taken in the car. So that worked well. So June's watching television, and I've made a few notes about the closed circuit TV, and yeah, visits by the foxes. No badger last night, but we had him recently. Yeah, fox having the peanuts on the front porch. Who are you looking at? Yeah. And yeah, and that's on the, and that's just checking what time things happened, including that fox. I think that one was live. And then now checking what times the cameras switch between night vision, black and white, and colour. June's watching that on the television. Boring. Time for a trip down to the village. But I've got some emails to check and answer. Interesting stuff about the AMRA, and I'd forgotten. Goodness me, that last AGM, it actually mentions me in it. Yes, decided I might take up a bit of mischief. Trip down to the village. June is multitasking, playing video games and watching that thing on the TV. So yeah, the boat and that lamp gets more sun, so it stays on. It's the same type that's on the front of the boat. Walk down to the village and into the Comrades Club, have my glass of wine, force myself. Yes, there was football on the TV, and no record here, but there was a bit of fun. Yes, the tracker showed correctly that I'm where I was, and yes, got out that thing that appears in other ones, complete with sound effects, roughly speaking, that goes. Then I popped over briefly for a minute or two at those three places, and then left on my way back home. Again, checked out the camera, low light, with a moon coming up to full moon, and back home. And yes, the boat's there. By now the light's gone out because it probably doesn't get a lot of sun. Yes, Toadie is relaxing in Robin's naughty corner, and that's the end of the photo trial. Friday the 27th of October 2023, whatever it is, 9 minutes, including this 2-minute summary at the start. And yeah, that was what I had been working on, the previous video. And yeah, June takes us to the pub. It was at the Duke of Edinburgh, and yeah, Richard and John and myself. John showed us some photos of his work on his boat. Nice meal, and John was able to give us a lift back home, and had coffee and cake round at Richard and Faye's. Yeah, glimpses of the boat, and June off to tennis with Samantha in the afternoon. June was also in the tennis in the morning. And yeah, the tracker showed them getting there okay, and that's the other tracker that's going in the boat. And yeah, glimpses of the boat. Decided to put the peanuts out, and while I was putting the peanuts out, Gary visited and basically left the MOT certificate. He'd done that. Yeah, there's his website. And yeah, it was interesting, the visits I checked. Glimpses of this new cat on the block chasing Bentley, and Toadie of course is sleeping through it all. And at the back end, yeah, June's checking out the smart fridge with accessing it from any phone, including hers, Alexa. Right, so, right, that's the summary. Now into the actual photo trial. So it starts off that, yes, checking out the tracker. June's at the tennis club, and yeah, what am I doing? Probably processing the video from the day before. And yeah, Toadie's relaxing. And yeah, hello Toadie. Samantha's working from home, and amongst all that junk, June gets back. I do a bit more work, and yeah, pub grub is going to be at the Duke of Edinburgh, and Terry couldn't make it, but it was the three of us. So Samantha's pumping up her tyres because Gary will be picking up the car for an MOT. Yeah, some interesting emails still in progress. And what we got here, yeah, and yeah, looking at the closed circuit TV. And what do we see? Ah, yes, Richard coming over. And because Robin still doesn't have his driving licence from the DVLA, June provides the transport. Richard tips off Faye that no, they won't need transport from her because June's doing it. So we're over to the Duke of Edinburgh at Woodside near Ascot. And yes, John shows some work on his boat. And yeah, have a look at the menu. And yeah, lovely food. So enjoy our meal there. And what else do we have? Oh yeah, I managed to squirt some lemon juice in my eye, but it wasn't a problem. Oh, it looks as though the rain was coming on. I had seen that they would get a shower coming through, but it was just a temporary shower. So then John gives us the lift back to drop us back home. And yeah, back through Sunninghill. A few places people will recognise. Back to Richard's, drops us off there. And yes, there's some work going on there. So we then have coffee and cake. Just Richard and myself. And June joins us later. And yeah, glimpses of the boat. And yes, the untidy room. Yes, Toadie's still relaxing in the games room. Sometime we'll get the right help to tidy things out, put them in the right places. Now looking at the tracker, yes, anybody interested would see there's a lot of scatter there, of course, but see roughly where we were. And now June with a similar tracker and Samantha are off for the tennis in the afternoon. This is a Friday, of course. So they're off, and I'll find something to do. Yeah, what is it? Oh yeah, just look at their tracker and just confirm it's working, because these things can be useful. You just want to know what their limitations are and check them over a decent time, see that they're reliable. That seems to be okay. And then the other tracker is the SATCOMS tracker, which goes in the robot boats. Much more expensive, of course, but then it can work in the middle of the Atlantic. And June had tidied up my old bits from the boat in a much better place than where they were. I had a quick look at that, and oh yes, I thought, I'd put the peanuts out now. Now, of course, as I might have mentioned earlier, while I was putting the peanuts out in the garden and taking a few photographs around the garden, Gary arrived. Didn't get a reply from the doorbell, because that's another outstanding job. No, the remote doorbell mechanism, so we could hear it in the back garden. Oh, that stopped working ages ago. And so that you'd know if somebody come to the front door. And yeah, a few pictures around the back garden. And while I was doing that, of course, Gary was visiting. Didn't get a reply, so he put the MOT certificate to say yes, it's passed, and the keys through the door. So I'm still taking these pictures. There's the glass that June got yesterday and is going to be put into the greenhouse, and carefully, of course, and working my way back. Yeah, projects that went very well with Paul's help last year, but nothing much done on that. Yes, even a TV and computer outside. Yeah, the grapes coming along nicely. Yeah, revisit the junk, and Toadie still relaxing. That's the games room. We might get it at a decent state sometime. Yeah, there's the MOT certificate. It had passed. So let's have a look at the closed circuit TV just to confirm. I mean, we know he obviously did, but we just see the detail there. So there he's returning Samantha's car and coming to the door with the certificate in his hand. Yes, we can see. And yeah, didn't get a reply, so goes off. And then a look at his website. It's been there for years. Yeah. And yeah, GP Motors. Yeah, good. And what I was interested in, I hadn't looked at this, is the visits to the website. And it was from an amazing number of countries. And of course the distribution was as you would expect. Now we've got some interesting pictures here. That new black and white cat that we haven't seen before actually chased Toadie across the road and under a car. So that's a new guy on the block. And yeah, at the back end, June is just checking out Alexa on her smartphone so she can control the fridge, including getting it to play music and things. So yeah, I was a bit doubtful how much you should use the technology. Don't become reliant on it. So then this video, and that concludes the day. I warned you they would be long photo trails, but at least it's an aid to my memory, made a bit more powerful by being shared with others. So let's see if we can go in this way. No, we can't, that door's locked. So I'll go in this way, and I'm about to run into the clips that were shot earlier in the year, not that long ago, and I think I started from about here. So let's run into that. Now, what I put on the screen, because global warming is rare in itself, it's something that's been on my grumpy page for years. The remarkable James Lovelock, who passed away on the 26th of July, his 103rd birthday. I'll read out what this says here. This has been on the grumpy page for years, not long after the publication of his book, Revenge of Gaia. We can't stop global warming, but we may delay it by a few decades to give us time to prepare for its effects. Vast areas of the world, including as close as continental Europe, becoming arid desert, shrinking of habitable areas of the planet to much smaller parts of the planet, closer to the poles. The Earth will then only be able to support a small fraction of its present population, and there will be a need for massive migration. Places like the UK will remain temperate a little longer, so be an attractive destination. We need all world governments to cooperate to prepare for this inevitability. Also to agree things like reduce use of fossil fuels to give us a few more decades to prepare. And then it goes on. The above is not a quote, but how I remember what James Lovelock said in his book, The Revenge of Gaia, etc. That's been unchanged on my site for years. And right, well, the other thing I should mention, yes, retired, happy and spending that kid's inheritance, is for some time now I've not been able to drive due to, well, several mistakes at the DVLA. And what I will say is that I have new evidence of what happened inside the DVLA, which I won't publish yet because I'm still waiting for the reply to the letter which was delivered by recorded delivery to the head of the DVLA and also other people. So I'll put in at the end of this long video the video that's gone up, me talking about the DVLA, and basically in summary it says I don't want anybody to get into trouble, and that is definitely the case, and resigning is too easy. Problems need to be fixed. But quite honestly, that is a minor thing compared with all the other things that are going on in the world, not least wars, and of course what's in the background and very important is global warming. So let's run into that. Back in 2012.
Seen the launch of a transatlantic sailing attempt this morning in a model boat. Retired NATO scientist Lovelocks launched his Snoop Loop from Barton-on-Sea towards the Bahamas. It's already been tested over 5,000 miles on a lake in Berkshire. The model will be steered and tracked through a satellite system and by Snoopy, of course, and it should make the crossing in 6 months, if it survives, that is.
The most important thing of the lot, of course, is Snoopy the Viking, the skipper. I don't think he'd make it otherwise. We've also got another bit and piece here. This is a GPS logger that logs the position every 15 minutes.
That was back in 2012. The guy that put this material together, including the live broadcast and what went up on the BBC website, is Ben Moore.
I just worry for Snoopy. Sport now and Hampshire.
Right, on to the next topic. Right. Now, I'm going to do this all in one take. All unrehearsed and unscripted, so sorry about that. What I'd like to happen, if anybody picks up on the DVLA story, is, as I say, nobody getting into trouble, and that's a genuine request, but when they find flaws in procedures where they don't cover certain things, be good if those are fixed. What I think would be useful for anybody looking at the DVLA and perhaps helping them is, first of all, their organisation chart showing the structure. Yes, it's well known who the head of the DVLA, remarkable woman, looking at her CV, and relevant to this story is the head of the health part. But it would be very useful to see, even if names aren't attached, obviously the names can be attached where they're public already, is how many people in each branch, how many people are reporting to how many. So a simple tree would help. I suggest that first of all. Then, perhaps even more important, is how many people working for the DVLA, even if you don't identify the individuals, are salaried by the DVLA excuse me, directly, as opposed to contracted through an agency or a business. That is very important, and we've seen what's been happening in places like the NHS for years. So that comes into the equation in terms of whether money is well spent, and of course the DVLA collects a lot of money, and there are probably other things as well, but as a starting point, I'd hope anybody that responds to this, I can't afford to get overloaded, we've got other things to do, many other things to do, and we'll be taking a holiday. That'll be public, yes. I'm tracked everywhere by different things, and in fact, if anybody's paranoid about it, anybody who's tracking somebody or looking at somebody's probably seen already. But at the end of the day, there's me wittering on, which is one of my main weaknesses since I was a little child. That's why if you put things up, clearly be careful what you put up, and often it can do some good. I'm now in the kitchen, and June's rustling up some food in the microwave for Samantha. The microwave was invented by James Lovelock, if you didn't know. And here's Samantha, and of course there's tennis on the television, just for a change. So, oh yes, point out, holidays in we're going off to Sicily again soon, and into the hall. Yes, nice expensive paintings here. Yep, expensive little pocket camera. Not expensive. And through into the lounge and out to wrap up this video by saying, look after yourselves, stay safe, and enjoy what days we have.